Surrendering to change. Hi, I'm Dr. Tina Marcantel. There's one thing that is sure in life, and that is change. Our jobs change, our relationships changed, our locations change, and we change. When we're in a place of feeling comfortable and we are very familiar with where we're at, we feel safe. We have our identity in certain roles that we play, in certain positions that we are in. We have our role in labels that we are, teacher, nurse, doctor, whatever. These are all roles and labels and positions that we have, and we've become accustomed to them, and we feel safe in them. Nothing wrong with that. But sometimes our heart feels a tug to go through changes. When things change for us, we feel somewhat uprooted and we don't really feel safe. And what comes up for us is fear a lot of time. Fear of the unknown, fear of making the decision, fear of failure. There's so many fears that can come up with change. Change provides for us an opportunity to observe and look at some of the old thought patterns that we have that are not serving us. I can't do it, or it won't happen for me, or whatever those limiting beliefs are. They will come up when we're going through changes in our life, and they will feel uncomfortable. It's just part of the process that we go through. Part of our journey is remembering the fullness of who we are. We're not really all those positions and roles and all of these things. Those are parts of our life. Our true identity is always evolving. So these opportunities present themselves to us so that we can expand more. What does that mean? That means expanding ourselves, expanding more, not just our relationships or our home or our job, but also who we are. We expand in coming to know ourselves in a bigger way. So it provides opportunity to re-examine our life. When we're in a position, when we're in a place where we're at and we've been there for a while and life is moving, the flow of life is moving, and we can see the signs for change about to take place. And so we re-examine and we ask ourselves, is my life supporting me right now? Am I happy? These are two big questions. Is my life supporting me right now? Am I happy? So what change does is it has a habit of pushing us on, moving us on into the expansion of our true self, which is peace, which is love, which is abundance in all areas of our life. And it doesn't always seem that way when we're in fear of moving, but we need to surrender and trust in that movement for our life. So change, again, can cause expansion in all areas of our life. And it affects the people around us as well. It affects our children. It affects our spouses. Everything around us starts to change when we change. Years ago, my family and I lived in Texas, and my husband and I decided it was time for a change, and I was going to go back to school at age 43, and I was a nurse and I wanted to be a naturopathic doctor. So we decided that we were going to move from Texas to Arizona so that I could go back to school. my mind was resisting it, saying, oh, but we're going to have to start new jobs. Oh, the kids are going to have to relocate and it's going to be hard on them. And there were so many excuses in my mind that I was making. Yet my heart, the soul of our self, that which is connected to divine, that which is connected to higher, source is telling me that it would be for my highest good to move on to another place, even though my mind is telling me something else. My heart, which is my compass, my soul, which is my compass, was telling me to move on. And I just knew it. There were signs. Do you have that in your life where there are signs that are asking you to do some changes in your life? No matter what those changes are, usually signs will show up for us, and that's what was happening. So we decided to follow that and to move. It was challenging, of course, but it challenged me most of all. Not only in going back to medical school, but it challenged me in so many different ways. It brought up insecurities. It brought up unworthiness. It brought up all kinds of things that were inside of me. But it brought it up so I could look at it, so I could release it as not truth and make room for the new things that were better for me, that allowed me to expand and trust in myself and have self-confidence in myself. And it affected my family as well. And they expanded as well in their life. So we make an impression on the people around us as we expand. If you've ever been in a canoe or a kayak going down the river, it's very interesting because you go with the flow of the river, and sometimes the flow is slow and you look around and you're enjoying yourself. Sometimes you kind of have to work with the oars. Sometimes in our life we have to kind of work with the oars. We have to work at things. And then there are times when there are rapids and things are going really fast down the river of our life. And sometimes we have to give up the oars and trust the flow of that river to bring us where we need to land in the perfect place, in the perfect time. There are things that we do, and sometimes we have to give up and surrender in certain areas of our life when we go through changes, to trust. And the hardest thing about giving up, and not giving up, but surrendering to our divine self, that which is divine within us, the most difficult and challenging part is that we want to control everything around us when we're in fear in changes. So that's the part, the control, that we need to release and surrender so that we can trust that we're going to land in the perfect place, in the perfect timing. As you're going through changes, there's going to be things you need to do, but there's going to be times where you're going to need to trust and surrender. And you're going to see how things will flow for you. It is the how of what is going to happen in our life that we need to surrender. We do all that we know how to do, and then we surrender to the how. And usually the how is not always the way that we think it should turn out, but it always turns out well. Now, some of us, I'm being one, sometimes what we do when we go through the changes is we go upstream. We try to swim upstream, and oh my gosh, that is so hard to swim upstream. It takes so much of our energy. If something is just draining you and taking so much of your energy, and your mind is saying you need to be in control and go upstream, and you're not allowing that flow, that natural divine flow in your life, then it makes your life very difficult, very hard. Some of us, even what we do is we get out of our canoe and we're swimming upstream, pulling our canoe. And boy, is that hard. Sometimes we're trying to take along some old baggage with us, some possessions, you know. Some of us are being asked at this time to downsize and release possessions, whether they be material possessions, or release some unwanted baggage like old thought patterns and old stuck emotions that are not serving us. So I just ask you just to be aware of the signs in your life, of the struggle, of what's going on, of what we're in fear about, and allow yourself, without any self-judgment, for these things to come up, and to make a conscious decision, not from your fear-based mind, but from your heart, a peace. Make the decision for your change from that place. Get off in nature. Take a deep breath and be in the present moment. And that is when the peace comes to make your decisions of change. In my own life, sweet surrender comes when we choose to trust and to surrender. So I leave you with this. I trust in the divine flow in my life. I surrender to the divine flow in my life.